Hey YouTube, ChannelMST here, bringing you a deck profile on Hero Beat. This deck got 3rd at YCS Dallas this past weekend. So starting with the deck list, we have 1 Crusader, 3 Neos, 1 Stratos, 1 Honest, 3 Ryo, 1 Book of Moon, 1 Dark Hole, 2 Ecall, 3 Spark, 3 Miracle Fusion, 1 Reborn, 3 POD, and 1 Rhoda. Moving on to the traps, we have 2 VDH, 2 Depriz, 2 Hero Blast, 1 Mirror, 2 Skill Drain, 3 Solemn, 2 Starlight Roads, and 2 Torrents. Moving on to the side deck, we have 3 Veiler, 1 Max C, 1 Snowman Eater, 3 MST, 2 Smashing Grounds, 1 Super Poly, 2 Compulse, and 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors. Moving on to the extra deck, we have 1 Chimera Tech, 1 Absolute Zero, 1 Hero Gaia, 2 Great Tornadoes, 1 Hero Nova, 2 The Shinings, 1 Catastor, 1 Rose, 1 Brio, 2 Startards, 1 Blade Armor Ninja, and 1 Utopia. And that does it for the deck list. So moving on to the deck discussion, we'll cover it in reverse order. So starting with the Exceeds, pretty standard here, Utopia and Blade Armor Ninja. With the addition of dragons now in the meta, I would assume that this deck needs to start putting in Roach, just because Roach does hurt their deck a lot because they have a lot of inherent special summonings. So it's good against them, so this deck probably should have added in a Roach. However, the player who's playing this actually did not expect to play against dragons. So yeah. Moving on to the Synchros, we have 2 Stardust for the Starlight Roads, 1 Brio and 1 Rose. I'm not really sure what these are doing in here. I guess you can use Monster Reborn or Veiler or something like that. So yeah, but I could see this being more used for the fusions. And then 1 Catastor for Veiler with 4 stars. And then moving on to the fusions, we have 2 Shinings. I would personally go 3 just for safe measure. However, he did get 3rd place, so it kind of shows that 2 was enough to get him to 3rd place of a YCS. So yeah. And then 1 Nova for the Super Poly with Logias and stuff. And then 2 Great Tornadoes, 1 Hero Gaia, and 1 Absolute Zero. And we have 1 Chimera Tech. Moving on to the side deck, we have 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors for the Dark World matchup, and also for the Insectors. 2 Compulse for like tempo loss and to balance Exceed, Synchros, and Fusions. The Super Poly mainly for the Dino Rabbit matchup, and then 2 Smashing Grounds to get rid of big monsters. 3 MST for Spell and Trap removal. 1 Snowman Eater for the Dino Rabbit matchup. 6 Samurais and Mirror and some other rogue decks maybe. 1 Max C mainly for windups, and then 3 Veiler for windups and Insectors and stuff like that. Then moving on to the main deck, I like the overall deck because he's able to have a very good amount of monster removal with D-Prison and Bottomless. So he's able to counter the Dark World matchup really well because he can just remove Grapha that way. Remove an onboard Grapha with this, and then remove when they summon it with this. So he's not like he allows himself basically a pretty good game 1 against them, and I like that a lot. And in addition to this, he's able to still counter stuff like Insectors because D-Prison is pretty slow for Insectors, and Bottomless doesn't work on Dragonfly. However, he has the Hero Blast to work on that. He has the Skill Drains to also work on that, and he has the Gemini Sparks as well. So having the 2 Bottomless and T-Prison doesn't really hurt him that much against the Insector matchup, and it really does help him a lot against the Dark World matchup. And I like that a lot about his particular build. Also, in Joe Gilando's build, there was 2 Dark Bribes. I think he wasn't running Bottomless, so there's 2 Dark Bribes here, thus protecting your skill drain from stuff like MST and kind of being a more versatile Starlight Road. However, in this deck, he put the Bottomless and the D-Prisons and stuff like that, but instead he ran 3 Thunder Kings. So basically, if he lost his skill drains, he could still have the Thunder Kings to kind of back himself up. And on top of that, with the Bottomless and the D-Prison, he kind of replaced monster negation with adding more monster removal. Also, he's focusing on lights, which Joe Giolando talked about that was kind of inconsistent to run Honest. However, I think running the lights is a huge improvement because he replaced the Barbaros with Thunder King and an Honest. And to be honest, 3 Thunder King really does hurt the meta because you just might not have the removal for it, and it's just sitting in your way and you can't get past it. And then they go and then they top it off and put a skill drain on the board later on. And so, by running 3 Thunder Kings, I think that's really good. And then when you look at the Thunder Kings, you look at the Neos, you look at the Crusader, the Honest just kind of complements the deck, because with the 3 Neos, you're able to pull them back with Hero Blast. So when you look at the deck, it's like the Honest, yeah, it's like, okay, it might be a dead draw, but I mean, most of the time, if you're top decking this deck, you're going to have a lot of dead draws. And so by having the Honest, I mean, usually it's going to be played when you're, trying to protect a Thunder King, or push with the Neos, or when you're trying to go for game if you attack with the Shining. What I like about both builds is that they both run 4 Geminis, and I think that's a huge improvement, because having this in there, it just helps to have basically a 4th Neos in the deck, and that's really good because this deck has a lot of deck cleaning ability. And so once you have gone through 1 Neos, and then you draw a Spark, you go Pot of Duality, you have a greater chance of getting, another Neos basically in your hand, and that makes him worth running, in addition to his other aspects of him being a light and a 19 attack beater. And that'll do it for the deck profile. ChannelMST signing off.